Hey, it's Kinsey Ray. I come to you live from Salt Lake City, Utah. I specialize in coaching people on how to build businesses online and earn income from their phone. You can also call me Mrs. Utah International. Were you guys ready for that big reveal yesterday? Woo! So excited. Should I wear this on like every live video now? This is not the point of the live video, but what do you guys think? Drop a 1 in the chat if I should just wear this on every live video moving forward till I'm no longer Mrs. Utah International and I get upgraded to Mrs. International. Like, I don't know. I think it's kind of a look. I think it's just kind of fitting. Like, it just really, I never thought a crown would fit so good on my head, but it just does. So I do want to talk to you today about resistance. So you are going to want to stick around because this is good. This is the one thing that you don't want to have distract you, deter you, get you off track of your goals, because resistance is a sneaky little MFer. It's a sneaky guy. So I want to give you guys some tips as resistance shows up for you in 2023, because it's not a matter of if. It's just a matter of when, okay? And I got to be careful with this crown because it's not secure. Has anyone ever tried to secure a crown to your head? It's not easy. It takes way too long to do it, so it's just sitting, okay? So I can't make any sudden movements. Hey, Holly, how are you? So I want to talk to you guys about resistance as we're embarking on our 2023 goals, okay? So resistance is a sneaky guy. We're about 9 days into the year. Well, we are 9 days, almost 10. We're almost 10 days into the year. Resistance has likely shown up for some of you already. Drop a 1 in the chat if you're already feeling resistance towards your goals. Resistance is sneaky because it's not always easy to identify, but if you can start to pay attention to resistance when it shows up in your life, and you can start to create an awareness around what resistance is and how it shows up, because it shows up in a lot of different sneaky forms, you can start to overcome it and not let it detract you from your goals and absolutely derail your goals. Because I think resistance holds more people back from their potential and from who they are supposed to be than anything else. Because it comes up as valid reasons why you shouldn't show up. It shows up as very valid excuses as to why you shouldn't press forward. So resistance, let me give you an example of what resistance looks like. You make a decision, and resistance always comes when you make a big decision to change your life. Hey, Kaylee, how are you? You make a big decision on how to change your life, and you're like, okay, I've decided I'm going to go for it. I've decided I'm going to go take my life to the next level. I've made this decision that I'm sick and tired of my life being the way that it is, and I'm going to do X, Y, Z to go move forward and go make a big change, because I know if nothing changes, nothing changes. Have any of you ever made a decision like that? Drop 2 in the chat. Right? So you make this big, bold decision. You're like, this time is going to be different. I'm so sick of being broke. I'm so sick of being overweight. I'm so sick of my business not being where it's at. I'm going to invest in the coach. I'm going to finally go to the gym. I'm going to finally stick to the diet. I'm going to do 75 hard. I'm going to, make a budget and actually stick to it. Like, I'm going to do the dang thing. Right? We just get to that point of where it's like so painful to stay the same. You're like, I must change. That's where my life always changes. Okay, so you make the big decision. This is where resistance will always come in every time you make a life-changing decision. Every time you say, all right, I'm ready to go to the next level. I'm so sick of being where I am. I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get to the next level. And then our old friend resistance shows up. And it shows up in ways that you don't know it's actually resistance. Your car breaks down on the way to the gym. No, dang it. I knew just today wasn't the day. I'll try again on Monday. Or your aunt gets sick. You and your husband start fighting as soon as you start to go all in on your business. You have a house leak. The entire house gets sick. All the kids get sick. There's problems at school with the kids. There's problems at your day job. Like, all of this drama starts happening in your life, seemingly out of nowhere. It's not a coincidence. Or it is a coincidence. It's not aligned. It has nothing to do with the decision that you made. But all this chaos just starts happening in your life to make it seem Like this decision that you just made to move forward, to progress, to get better is not the right time. No. It's not the right time to start a business. Do you see all this other stuff going on? The kids are sick. I just got all this extra work because 3 people just quit at my job. My husband's upset with me. Like, I cannot start a business right now. It's obviously not the time. Look at all this stuff that just came into my plate as soon as I said I was going to start this business. It's not the time. Don't you see all this other chaos going on? It's a sign that I should not move forward. It's a sign that I should put this big decision that I decided it was time to change on the back burner. This is not the right time. I knew it. Look at all these signs that just show me it's just not the time for me. No. That means it is the time. That means that it's absolutely the time for you to lean into it. Resistance shows up as these challenges. In my opinion, resistance is the question. How bad do you really want it? You say you want the thing. You say you're ready for change. You say you're ready for the next level. You say you're ready to leave the bad habit behind. You say you're ready to show up differently, to get different results. Are you sure? That's resistance. How committed are you? Are you willing to get uncomfortable? Are you willing to push through the suck? Are you willing to do it when it's inconvenient? Are you willing to stay committed to this thing that you said you wanted so bad? You said you were so sick of it. But now the slightest inconvenience has shown up in your life and you're done. Oh, you must have not wanted it that bad after all anyway. Has anyone ever dealt with this? Has anyone ever experienced this? And what normally happens? You retreat back to where it's comfortable. You go back to the old habits. You go back to the old lifestyle. You go back to the old way of thinking. And you say, you know what? Now's not the time. I'll try again later. Clearly, look at all these signs. When in reality, you should have leaned in. Because the resistance is just the test. It just wants to see, are you really committed? Because if you can get gritty with it, and you can push through that resistance, and you can say, okay, woo, let's buckle up, buddy. We're going to put 2 seatbelts on for safety because it's going to be a bumpy ride. And I'm going to push through this. I really am committed. I really am serious about this goal. I really am ready for change. And you push through. You figure it out. It's uncomfortable. It's inconvenient. You're doing your workouts at midnight because there is no other way to make it happen. You're pushing through this resistance and these roadblocks and these challenges, and you push through. And eventually, the storm will subside. The storm of resistance will go. They're not stopping. Oh, when they said they were ready for change in 2023, they meant it. Oh, a little friction isn't going to get them to quit on their goals? The doors will open. The path will clear. And you can continue forward. But everybody experiences this. And this is why this happens all the time. We see it in ourselves. We see it in other people. People say, I'm going to change. Then inconvenience, resistance. How bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? How bad do you want it? Not that bad, because most people retreat back to the comfort zone. Most people say, oh, well, just not the time. I'm going to go back to it. And then guess what happens the next time they make the decision to go change their life? Make the decision to grow. Make the decision to get different. Resistance shows up. How bad do you really want it? Are you serious this time? Can you get past the resistance barrier? The only way through the resistance barrier is through it. And it's inconvenient. It's uncomfortable. You get challenged. But if you can show the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, wherever the hey Hannah resistance comes from, I don't know, but it's a universal force. Everyone experiences it. If you can show up and stay committed and find a way and get gritty and go through the suck and do it messy, It eventually clears. It's the weirdest thing. And I used to go through this cycle all the time. I'd feel resistance, I'd back off. I'd feel resistance, I'd back off. Feel resistance, I'd back off. Finally, I got so sick of this dang cycle. I was like, you know what? I actually learned it from my mentor. Someone actually finally told me about resistance. That's what changed. Someone warned me. It was in 2020. I made a decision. I said, okay, going all in. I'm doing this coaching program, 30 days. I'm going to go all in. I'm going to take action like I've never taken before in my business. Like, I'm going to go for it. And my mentor said, I have a word of caution for you. You've made this decision and I'm very proud of you. But I need to warn you what's coming so you are prepared. You've made this decision and now watch over the coming weeks, your life is going to turn into absolute chaos. Oh, and it did. He's like, someone's going to get sick, you and your spouse are going to fight, your car's going to break down. I don't know what's going to happen, but weird stuff is going to happen. And it's going to make you think, I need to slow down. I got to put my attention on these other things. Do you see all this other stuff going on? Like, I better like pause on this. Hey, like, see this chaos? I don't have time for this coaching program right now. I got to deal with the other stuff. He says, if I warn you now, you'll be able to see what it is. If I don't warn you, you'll be convinced that this was the wrong choice. And if you can push through, I promise the path will clear and you'll get to the other side. But most people will fail simply because the resistance will get the best of them. They will get distracted, they will get off track, and nothing will change. So I want to warn you, if you have not experienced resistance yet, we're about in that sweet spot, about 10 days in. Whoa, it's all fun and games till the resistance shows up. New year, new me, it's all fun and games till it's time for the real hard work to push through. If you haven't experienced it yet, it's coming. And that's not to scare you. That's to make you aware. Because now I can just laugh at resistance. To me, resistance is hilarious, right? When I'm like, all right, time to go all in. And then the resistance shows up. I'm like, wow, that's funny. That's funny. Is that how it looks this time? Okay, here we go. And I just double strap in, just double click, just click in and go along for the ride and push through. Anything worth having is not going to be easy. If it was easy, everybody would do it, y'all. Everybody would do it if it was easy. So get gritty with it, have fun, and be able to see resistance for what it is. A simple test to say, how bad do you want it? Are you really serious? And I know you are, right? So just push through. And the other thing, I'll give you guys a tip. I've a book if you want to dive deep on this and really understand resistance. It's phenomenal. It's called The War of Art. Such an easy read. I reread it at the beginning of last year. Woo! Such a good book. It shows you all the different ways that resistance shows up. It happens to everyone. Like I said, it's this unspoken force that everyone combats. Great book. The other thing that I'll tell you about resistance that helps me a lot is I remind myself when I'm faced with resistance and the friction and the butting heads with the universe, like, I'm going to go. And they're like, no, you're not. It's just like this like war, this internal battle of just, it's a lot. It's hard. I remind myself when I want to quit, I'm like, what's the point? There's so much friction. There's so much resistance. I remind myself, this is where everybody quits, right? This is where 99% of people quit when it gets uncomfortable, when the resistance shows up. And I don't want to be like everybody else. I know I'm destined for big things. I know if you're watching this, you're destined for big things. Don't be like everybody else. So I remind myself when I do want to quit, when I get that urge, when I feel the friction and the intensity, say this is where everyone else quits. Push through. You got this. Resistance is my friend. Resistance guides me. Now that I've created this awareness around resistance for many years now, it guides me. Anytime I feel resistance around something, like it terrifies me. Hello, let's talk about the pageant for a minute. I want to talk about something terrifying that I have no experience in whatsoever. I'm like, what are you doing entering a beauty pageant, Kinsey Ray? Like, resistance times 1,000. Limiting beliefs galore. But it was so guided. Anytime I feel resistance around something, I'm like, I don't want to do that. I'm avoiding the project. I'm avoiding the action. I'm avoiding the activity because there's so much resistance. I just don't want to. It's my guiding post because I know everything that I want is on the other side of resistance. everything you want is on the other side of the thing that you are resisting most. And as I say that, I know every one of you watching is thinking of something. Something just came to mind. What are you resisting the most in your life right now? That one thing you don't want to do, that one project that you're like, I would rather peel my nails off one by one than sit down and do this project. You procrastinate and you avoid and you justify and you make excuses about this one thing you don't want to do. You know it's the one thing you need to do. And if you do it, everything you want is on the other side. So I use resistance as a guiding post of like, what am I resisting? What project don't I want to do? What action don't I want to take? What don't I want to move forward on? And I lean into it. I force myself to take action because I know it's the guiding post of where I'm supposed to go. And there's this whole thing that I'm doing with this pageant. I don't know if you guys have listened to my podcast about it. Go listen, episode 12, where I talk about like how the heck this happened. Like so weird, so wild. What I'm doing with it, this whole thing with the pageant and the platform and the Happier Days thing that I'm doing, it has been my biggest resistance. I'm really stepping into talking about mental health and really pursuing this passion of mine and what I believe is my life mission. I have so much resistance around it. And while I can tell you guys the truth, I can be vulnerable with you guys. It scares the living daylights out of me to step into this. I have so much resistance around it. I have for 15 years. That's how I know I have to, I must. Because when I think about my life, and I want you to think about your 2023 goals or the things that you're resisting. When I think about my life, we're all going to die one day. I think about this often. The one thing I would be absolutely devastated that I never did was to speak out on self-harm and really talk about mental health and do my part to create change. Do my part to get my story out there, my message out there, to remind people they're not alone, to remind people they can change, to show people you might have an ugly past that's tainted and scarred and seared with mistakes and wrong turns and failures and things you are not proud of. Me too. But that didn't define my future, and it doesn't have to define yours. And if I don't get that message out in the world before I die, I would live with so much regret. That is like the one thing I have to do before I die. And yet it's the one thing I have the most resistance around. Don't you think that's a guiding post? Like, girl, lean in. So what are you resisting? That you just need to lean in and get over it and go through the suck and go through the gritty and go through the mess to figure out what the heck is on the other side. Because I promise it's so for you. It's so who you're supposed to be. It's so the next piece to your next best self. Don't back off when the resistance shows up. Don't quit when it gets hard. Don't quit and back away when things get sticky and the rug gets rocky. Just remember, we're just going to double click in for safety. It's going to be a rocky ride. And see what's on the other side. So don't be alarmed when resistance shows up. Let me give you a warning as you head into 2023. Maybe it already has for you. Push through. It's going to be okay. Keep going and find out what's on the other side. So if you got value out of this, definitely tag a friend, share this with a friend. I see Holly tag some friends. I appreciate you, girl. I love you guys. I appreciate you. And we'll chat soon. See ya.